My name, I was telling somebody downstairs, is Akintoye, Adeoye, Alao, Akindele. I come from a country where names mean something. Don't get me wrong, John is a good name. What does John mean though? If you have a name, you don't know what it means. My name is Akintoye, Warrior King. I've come to Africa to tell you where we are from, where we are going. For the next 90 minutes, hopefully, I'll tell you a story. I'm read very great biography of somebody. That's not me. And that's what they say I am. The thing about when people say what you are, that means you are almost subjecting yourself what people say who you are. Let me reintroduce myself to you. I'm a storyteller. I'm a hope giver. I'm a dream merchant. So I'm come here today to tell you a story. Hopefully you like the story and you see that watch less of BBC and CNN and do more research. The BBC and CNN are doing great work. Let's tell our own stories ourselves. In the next 90 minutes, I'm going to do 3 things today. I'm going to speak about, summarize. I can't speak about Africa enough. Africa is my obsession. I'm obsessed with our story, our history, our heritage. The more I dig, the more I learn, the more I'm in awe of who my ancestors were and are. The more I love the future. The future is a seductive timestress. I'm so proud to be Black. I'll tell you about Africa's small history. I'll then tell you about trade in Africa. What the numbers say. Everything I say is online. I'm lucky to be born in a world where data is not online. What we robbed off is now online available. And I'll tell you about diaspora. You guys, why you matter, why my colleagues and I will fly all the way down. What Maria did not tell you about my story of getting here is the story of the African opportunity. On my way to the airport on Saturday, I was coming from Osun State. I got a long bridge. If you know Lagos, there's a long bridge about, who knows how long it is, some kilometers. And it was blocked. And all the mobile police and it could not stop anybody. So how did I get here? Got on the bike. Carried my box in front, back driver. I was there, my colleague, my security guy carried my box, and 3 of us were on bike. And we drove to the airport. You are living, no, my darling, you are my future. That's why I'm here. I'm there for you. We live in very, very expensive slums. Expensive slums. All my cars couldn't save me. God even said we didn't build trains. I could go on a train. Got on a bike, trotro, bus, bike. And I was like, I can't miss this. Because the chance calling, that's why you matter. Share it. I need to be shared online. I'll then tell you how we bring trade, diaspora, and Africa. The future that is yours. You know, for all today's, whatever happened today, I'm so proud. But I have, Jonathan, please come. For Jonathan I met today, Africa's future is certain. This is my future. This is the best of my people. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Sit down. So, this is the outline today. Let me start with the colorful slide I like to show. A lot of people don't know this. This is how we evolved. I can see your eyes just popped just now. Did you realize how we evolved? Africa is not a continent. Africa is a vibe. Africa is a mindset. Black is not a color. It doesn't exist. The only color that exists is humanity. Every color that you see today was born out of black, and the colors. The Caucasian race is less than 20,000 years old as a race. You have blue eyes, but you are Caucasian race. A Caucasian is not actually the race. It was coined in the US less than 50 years ago. So we actually are all black, actually. We're all black people in the world. Why are we so mean to each other? Who knows what the next evolution of humankind will be? I'm obsessed with TV, so I watch a lot of movies. If you have time, go and watch that. I'm not endorsing the content, Sense 8, that predicts that the next human evolution is almost sensorial, which is where human beings connect, but in terms of your spirit and mentally. We will evolve. The world you live in today is about 4.6 billion years old, and it's bettered at least 10 civilizations from the dinosaurs to you. You'll not be the end of this world. You have another 4 billion years to go. The sun is what drives the world. You'll not be the first civilization to happen. It will happen. Why do you take yourself that seriously? This is your story. This is how we became various races. Migration. A lot of things about Africa that you do not know. We have blue eyes, black. Mansa Musa, my favorite. I'm reading a book about Mansa Musa. I'm obsessed with Mansa Musa and how we democratize wealth. Because I think one of our challenges as black people is that we didn't democratize wealth early enough. Richest man ever, who was so rich that as he was going to a journey through pilgrimage to Mecca, he crashed gold prices. They had to beg him to buy the gold back on the way back to Mali. And Mali was not a country. I heard a lot of languages here. I heard Caribou, I heard Baoni, a lot of things. These are all interesting to me. We're tribal people. We spoke a few languages in the continent, I'll show you. Mansa Musa was great for 20 years, then he died. Which happens when we're all great for just 20 years and we go. We don't build institutions like Africa Center that live beyond us. We do not spare the time. We are also concerned about immediate family, nuclear family, and tactical short-term success that we forget that it doesn't matter what you do, you are dead anyway. And Africa Center as a concept, as a movement, makes sense because it then builds on what our grandkids and our legacies can live beyond and meet and know their narrative. There's a village not far from here called Akindele. Akindele is in Greece. It's off the island of Santorini. That village that civilization was discovered in 1968. It was sunk under volcanic ash. You can go and see it, by the way, this is on me. 1960, just less than 50, about 50 something years ago. What they found that village had 5 things I want to give to you, that village. And it speaks to where you are from, all of you. Everybody. When they discovered it, was sunk. So the volcano had been very busy, erupted, and just buried it. And you go to Santorini, you go on top of it. 3 things. 1, they found, as they were uncovering all the ashes in the village, they found 1. The village had buildings, 4-story buildings. And this settlement existed 10,000 years ago, not 2,000 years BC. This civilization is less than 2,000 years old. All of what we are making noise about is no more than 2,000 years old. Chinese people have history that's 5,000 years old. Documented history in China. Japanese, the oldest community in the world is Japanese community, is over almost 2,000 years old. So all this Western world history is not 2,000 years old, it's 500 years old actually. So don't get yourself confused. I say it don't really matter. This civilization was 10,000 years old. They had 4-story buildings, 10,000 years old. They're covering it. They had bathrooms on almost every floor and every room. Europe had its first toilet on every floor just 100 years ago. 10,000 years ago, they had this. Women were leaders. They ran. And you can help them. The world women lead, the world that makes sense. The masculinity, women inheriting men's name is not 1,000 years old. By the way, in fact, in a lot of culture, when they call a woman's name, they will say, this man is this person's child, married to this person. But now, this is Mrs. A, Mrs. B is not 1,000 years old. It's just 500 years old. Men around that country, the men were the one that would go and hunt and bring fish. Now, everything perished under that except one thing, a golden stool that was an idol from ancient Africa, 10,000 years. So my ancestors went as far as Greece and everywhere in search of diversification and mobility. Africa is the world. The history of mankind is Africa. It's linked together. So Africa's future is the world's future. These are timelines. These are the group. When the Europeans came to Africa in about 600 years ago, 1440, Portuguese. They were just astounded by the fact of our development, that the Portuguese princes used to come to the continent to learn governance. In fact, 7 days ago, there was a paper written that saying that the first time they saw street lights was in Benin Kingdom. And people, and you see, we have no history. Jesus Christ was black, not white. Thor was Shango. Real talk. The name for Zeus was Ethiops, in black in Ethiopian language. You took our history, you write it in white, and you say we have no history. How does that work for me? I'm not fighting. I'm just talking about history. Luckily, now internet, what killed us last time was technology. We failed to document our narrative and communicate. That's what will save us again. It's all online. The first time universities got to Europe was 1,000 years ago, or 2,000 years ago. There's a valley in West Africa called the Valley of Jen in Sudan. So we took education to the Western world. If you check the academic gown that people wear when they graduate, look at their buyer, actually, from Middle Africa to Middle Eastern Africa, Middle East. So it was in vogue that when you went to school in Africa, you're educated, you come back looking like an African. And that's graduation gown till today. In the former Mali Empire that has Sudan. What that was called Sudan, S-O-U-D-N-A, then the whole region. I'll show you maps. Or is it the Blackbird of Hannibal that conquered Rome? Or one of my favorite civilizations ever is the Kemites and the Kush Empire. I love the Kemites and the Kush Empire. I'm obsessed with them. This was 10,000 years ago. Do you realize that pregnancy test back in the Kush Empire with that thing? It just leaves. A woman will pay on 1 or 2 leaves, they'll tell you whether you're pregnant or you had a boy. Girl! Where is that knowledge gone? The test tubes and expensive things. Everything we needed to live, we had as human beings. Is it math or English? So I come from a continent that is the past, the present, the future. That's our heritage. That's our history. That's who we are. Forget the last 7 years, it doesn't matter. It won't matter in the eternity concept as well. What happens in the future? Yesterday I met the trustees here, and I told them a story of a book I really love. It's called The Gods Are Not to Blame by Olarotimi. It's a story of predestination. Your destiny is predetermined. The boy that was born that would marry his mother and kill his father, whether he ran away or not, whether he had a choice or not, the gods are not to blame for making Africa what Africa is. Africa is the past, present, and future. We are rising. We're not fighting. We're not complaining. We're just talking. We're knowledgeable. We know who we are. Because there's something about knowing who you are. It gives you content. It gives you peace. It gives you calmness. You're able to engage in a non-combative way. There's no fight. It's not a chance by chance about just 18. And I'll get to you see the numbers about Africa very soon. And you leave there realizing that we are so lucky to live in interesting times. So I'm telling you that what changed? 2 things changed for us on the continent. We stopped documenting our stories. We kept them with folklore. Folklore is a great story, but we document so that other people can read. And Europe went away with Martin Luther and the printing press documented. The first time Martin Luther broke away from the church and said, I'm going to write the printing press, the church made it right. Martin Luther, the first Martin Luther, was one that created the printing press. He broke it from the church. He then documented it. He then made Bible available. Bible then became what people could read. Because Bible has a lot of science, history. People then wanted more about life. Then aspired more. Matter of fact, what you call the middle class today was called middle class back then. Because then you either born a farmer or a soldier. If you don't, you're for the states. Only people that went to school were people that were in church or went to royalty. Other people were meddling people. So when Martin Luther gave the Bible, started they wanted more, started meddling in affairs of the states. Meddling became middle class. Then went to America, set for greatness, won the newfound world, and voila. We just did not have a middle class on the continent. And we did our stories told. Even though we had pulp paper 1,000 years before Martin Luther had the printing press. It was how we democratized information. Information has always been a game changer in evolution. What separates human beings from animals is the ability to communicate. So 10 million years ago, human beings could string words together in more than sounds. And then from that, if you go and read the book of Homo sapiens, you understand this, it's evolution. What happened was that the documentation of information and democratizing information, where people then engage in various activities to be better than one, happened when it happened on the continent, and we lost our mind. So that's your first history. Sorry to bore you with your history. I can go on for the next 30 hours. Africa in numbers. One of my favorite slides ever. If you go online, this is the thing you read about my continent. 2.6 trillion GDP, nominal GDP, all these interesting numbers that don't mean anything to me. I don't believe them. A continent has more than 70% people in the informal sector. How does GDP capture informal? How does GDP capture mobility of money? If you go from Soweto to Isaleko to Accra to the Zungu in Ghana, if you go to everywhere, they are doing cash transactions on a daily basis. The bus drivers collect cash on a daily, pay cash school fees, buy food in market cash. Everything is cash. It's not captured here. So how can you say we're just 2.6 trillion? Like, I don't agree. I'm sorry. GDP is a production-based metric. It was incorporated all the years ago. I appraise GDP. It does not capture the engagement and interaction enough of my people. So this is what you read about us. So I didn't agree. So I called my colleagues together. Let's do research. How come the planes are always full and we're broke? And you're coming to London. They all laugh, right? You can't get tickets. You're not going to Lagos Christmas. How much ticket price? It's always up. And we pay for it. You still go and go party. How come you always have every weekend, we do burial, we do wedding, Ashwebi buy. Every weekend, and you always buy it, and you're always broke. Is there something between mobility of money and comfort? Must it be production-based? Maybe money being mobile has something to do with comfort or wealth. So we did a quick research, and it came that what they said is 2.6 trillion. Now, this is my number. I have a PhD in finance. I teach finance. Whenever you want to shoot me, go for it. My numbers are backed up by this. Well, our numbers came that we are $14 trillion. That means our second biggest continent is the USA, actually. We're getting China. And it makes it why China wants to die in the continent, right? They know something we don't know. So, how did we get here, right? So first, if I don't get it. So one of the things I heard that blew my mind was when they said that the UNCTAD said that inter-African trade is just $126 billion. I said, that doesn't make sense. Inter-African trade. If you go to the Badagry Seme border, every day, you start people that cross do trade. Who captures that number? If you go to the Aflayo and Togo border, who captures that trade that happens? People just walk to the Accord border, just walk across the border and do trade every day. Who's capturing that border? From Kenya to Tanzania. From Rwanda to Uganda. Who's capturing that data? It's not captured. So something is wrong somewhere. We're not telling our own stories. So we just say, let's do the numbers. So what did I do? Very simple. I said to myself, I have some basic understanding. I'm not very smart, but I know a bit of finance, right? So on this side, they call money supply. When I reach you, money is important. You must spend money. Money movement must be a signal to the economic size, correct? Correct, right? Human interaction is money, trade. So I took a money supply as a function of GDP of the developed countries. I then took one of the other countries. Can you just see the disparity in our numbers? Meaning that, now, remember, these are people that have structured markets where capital flow can be captured. Correct? And we are not captured here. I said, okay, it doesn't make sense because we're still doing the same thing they're doing. We're buying clothes, we're eating, we're going out, we're buying tickets, everything. So I said, okay, let me then take an average of this developed economy. In fact, everybody has an idea, take an average. So it's not just Nigerian buyers. If that's a function of economic size, He told me that Nigeria alone is $1.7 trillion. I got that 4 other metrics that confirm similar number. Why is it important for you to know? If you think you are small, you are small. If you think you are big, you are big. Your mindset is a big factor in who you are in life. What people tell you are is what you're going to be. If I tell you are small, you start thinking small. If I tell you are big, you start thinking big. We are big people. We are $14 trillion. Don't talk to us with respect, please. And it makes sense. How come the 8th of the fastest growing market in the world, 6th of the fastest growing market in the world is from Africa? Not clear numbers. This is what you don't realize about your continent. 60% of the world's arable land that you can grow on is in my continent. 90% of the global reserve, raw material global reserve, is where I'm from where you are from. Gold reserve is 40%. Diamonds is 30%. Cobalt, your phone, your laptop, what you're doing here, 60%. For heaven's sake, how can I be so rich and be so poor? There's something wrong here, guys. There's something wrong with the accounting economics of how you account for our wealth. You take our wealth and say we are poor. Everything here is built on our wealth. I say we are poor. We're not small. Size-wise, even the map that you watch is misrepresented. They make you look small on the map. They are 3 times US, 3 times Europe, 3 times China. In fact, my next slide will show you something very quickly. It's not here. You see it. You see how many continents can fit on your continent. So, again, that's where I'm from. Africa in numbers. So I've given you the history, I've given you numbers. Now, you beautiful diaspora people, let's talk. Diaspora means what? People of origin that migrate. I mean, it's a new English word. And we then said, how did Africans migrate over 100,000 years from the first people that left Africa to Southeast Asia, to all the way to Australia, then moved to Europe. Europe and America's last movement was less than 1,000 years old. They started moving a while ago, right? The oldest human fossil found is in Africa about 7 million years. Slavery. Everybody hates it. I don't. This is what? Slavery or colonialism. They're sisters, right? Legacy of slavery. 44% of the people that they took from Africa came from Nigeria, my people. So 4 in 10 of people in diaspora is Nigerian. 4 in 10 of people in diaspora, they are Nigerian. Number 6. So let's talk about diaspora. How do we start? From the recent diaspora. Because this is not the first diaspora. The first diaspora happened 1,000 years ago when the continent was being Islamicized. Egypt today is not the Egypt of my continent. The Arabs are not Africans. They migrated downwards and pushed Africans down to Sudan and Co. Let's be clear. So Egypt is not today. Now, they're Africans, legit. If you are born here, you're African. Same as people who are white Africans. We're all Africans. But the historical Africans, the biblical Africans, they're not the ones you see today. So, the most recent thing you hear about Africa, 1.4 million people captured and sold. Shipped every year. This African trade. It's amazing though why Europeans were with Africans for a couple hundred years before we started selling ourselves. They came to learn from us. It's amazing why did we stop being our brother's keepers? The concept of I replaced we. So Europeans didn't come and buy you. You evolved into selling yourselves. The Woman King, as interesting as I have a lot of fact more than they do, it's what it is. You start selling yourselves. And I think if we stop competing and collaborating, we'll understand what the future holds for all of us. If we stop seeing each other as competition and brothers, we'll get there. I spoke about colonization and modern migration. So when people in Nigeria talk about the modern day Japa syndrome, I actually celebrate migration. Migration is fundamental to human beings. We have always migrated for food, for shelter, for everything else. So migration is not wrong. Matter of fact, I celebrate current migration because we're moving Africa forward. We're exporting Africa. Because now that I can come down, I can eat jollof rice. I can eat Burna Boy. I can eat my dashiki. In the past, where will I get all these things from? Now, when we move as Africans, we move our heritage with us. And whether you like it or not, whether in America or Brazil, you look backwards. And looking backwards, we benefit as Africans. And you create for others to grow into. So migration is not a bad thing at all. So I know what the numbers say. So if you are shocked how many people are in Latin America that are blacks and Caribbean. The largest black diaspora in the world is in Brazil. A lot of people don't know that. Black diaspora in Brazil. Some fun fact. In Cuba, or can they call it Santeria, so Yoruba people, so 44% of people that left Nigeria still are Nigerians. A lot of them are Yoruba. Yoruba people settled in Cuba, in Brazil. And let me tell you a quick story. Let me bore you quickly. Yorubas have 401 gods. Gods. But our gods are not capital G. Olodumare is the capital G, is a god. So if you understand Christianity and that thing, I'm going to quickly bore you. The 401 gods are the Christian saints. They call them Orisha. Now, Orisha means Orisha, someone who is different. What I'm achieving, Ori, your destiny selected you to be different. Orisha. So they were not God, they were saints. Shango was a saint. So when about people were enslaved and moved to Cuba and co, for them, and were forced to practice Christianity, they then allocated saints to their Orishas. So you go to Brazil, Bahia, you see them in churches dancing like Christian, but they're looking to Orisha, to Shango, to Yemoja. Orisha. That's what Orisha means. Somebody who is different, an outlier. They're not gods. So our belief is not against Almighty. Why do you say our gods don't matter? Why do my gods belong in your museum? Numbers. 1.2 billion people in the continent, now 1.4 billion growing. 400 million people in black diaspora. 30% of my brothers are here and globally. You have $1.2 trillion buying power that stays in the Western world. It doesn't come back home. Your nice dresses, your shoes, your cars, your houses. How does it benefit us? We're the only... I'm sorry. We're the only truly free place where the color of your skin and everybody is back home. We can't bring it back. You know, somebody once said to me that if the pyramids of Egypt could have been moved to the museum, to have moved them. You are investing in things here that, for matter of fact, is not yours. Remittances, numbers are gone. Let me then go back to Nigeria. Nigeria's future is Africa's future. Nigeria works, Africa works. Nigeria fails, Africa fails. Simple. You don't have to like it. 1 in 6 Africans is Nigerian. Because economy, most people are ambitious. So Nigerians have 17 million people in diaspora. Almost 10% of us in diaspora. Documented. Let's be clear. If I don't have a number of Africa, I adjust for documented for local, I'll probably get another double that number. I see where they are. And recently, why is Canada now almost taking everybody that's killed Nigerian to Canada? But I thank Canada for doing that. Take us to Canada. Make us Canadians. So we can move capital back to Africa. I don't mind. I have to create space for us in Africa. There are a lot. And COVID was the best thing that happened to us. We made more babies in COVID. Right? COVID, our birth rate was higher than our death rate. We made babies in COVID. We were home doing nothing. So what did Africans know we do now? We make babies. Right? So we're getting younger. We're younging. We're younging. We are growing. We are consuming. We are investing. How about that? So the future is ours. We are younging, getting younger. We are consuming. We are skilling. Right now, before COVID, almost every Ivy League school was out of African schools. Now all of them came online. Can I have people that cost cheaper? We are skilling. We are scaling by expanding the world. Slow things. Compound interest over time. The diaspora Africans just keep growing, right? All of you are great engineers, you're doctors, you're lawyers, you have a lot of money. Give us some now. Come back home. When the master, I'll tell you how to give up. We don't want your money. We're not poor. You didn't leave us poor on the continent. Even when you come up, we always chance you for your money. We collect your money. You know, I love Africans when they see people that come from abroad, right? We call it abroad. We will say, give us money because we think you all think we are poor. You all think we are broke. So you bring up your dollars and pounds. We collect it from you now. So this one. You think it's the money I'm spending. But we collect it anyway because, hey, you think we don't have? We don't say no. I'll show you some numbers right now. Yeah. We don't want your money, guys. We want more than money. I'll tell you what we want from you guys. But if Africa was a country, though,
you're dead. Sorry.
If Africa was a country, though, like we were before, we were broken up into 54 countries. And if Africa and diaspora were a country, almost everything is black, right? Yeah. Food for thought, just to get you thinking that imagine what we do when we work together as people. For our brothers keepers. Okay, let's talk about trade now. So I've given you the diaspora numbers. I've given you African history. Talk about trade. You have a question for me, darling? Tell me, bro.
So a fun fact about the slave trade before we move on to the Europeans. The reason why the Europeans came into our country was because they found out that Africans were stronger than the slaves they were using. So they wanted to get stronger slaves. That's why they chose us, because the Africans were proved to be stronger.
So let me correct you there. So slavery is not an African problem. It was a global problem for over 10,000 years. In fact, there were white slaves before black slaves. Did you know that? The Ottoman Empire used to enslave Europeans. Yes, used to enslave Europeans. Europeans were white slaves before us. So slavery is not an African problem. So when Africans are emotional, don't get me wrong. Before you all shoot me online. It's bad. Yeah. But not Africans, it happened before Africa as well. Ottomans enslaved Europeans. Let's establish that fact. I haven't said that though. I like to believe that what led to African slavery is a vision issue. Two people sat on different sides of the horizon. One saw possibilities, one saw defense. We survived a lot on the continent. We'll survive a lot more. Let's talk numbers. What do numbers say? 1.4 billion people. 20% of the world population. They say we contribute just 3% to GDP. Global trade, rather. 70% of the world population. That's what they say. I'm going to blame them, but that's what they say. It's GDP they're using. Your driver, if you're living in Nigeria, all of you have drivers that have 2 wives. Like they have their own car. How do they afford 2 wives on a small salary? He's not obviously getting your extra money. Maybe he's stealing your petrol money. He's doing your tire money. He's making some money anyway. You're all laughing. Yes, it's an economy. Fun fact. Now I'm going to shock all of you here. How much do you all think a Molue bus driver in Nigeria, a Trotro bus driver in Accra, a Matatu driver in Kenya earns a day? No, I've already given it away. A month. They earn more than 10 times graduates. They get daily money. Daily money. For every route, they get a commission. That's like they can have more than 1 wife. Because 1 wife is expensive. Having 2 wives, 3, 4 wives, that means you have a lot of money. These guys charge per trip. They make a commission. In Nigeria, some of them earn as high as $2,000 a month. They are proper middle class. They have cable. They have TVs. They have cars. But we look down on them because they don't look like us. A perception problem. They don't dress like us. They look like us. We are guilty of what we accuse Europeans of for our own informal brothers as well. And there's so much capital locked in that universe that needs to be unlocked. The global, that 3 times formal sector in Nigeria is informal. What is wrong with us as people? Why must we use yardstick and metric of other people to appraise ourselves? It says. And again, look at the biggest exporting nations. I'm coming to these numbers. We export a lot on the continent. So, problem is not that we don't export on the continent. It's what do we export? Now look at this. If I come to this slide. Yes. What do we export, people? We export raw materials, basic goods, our resources. We import capital goods, finished goods, at 10 times the value of what they took from us. So we export cocoa, but chocolate is 10 times cocoa's value chain. We export gold, we buy jewelry. We export crude, we buy petrol. We export cobalt, we buy mobile phones and battery. Which God did we offend? Which God, what have we done wrong as people? This is the problem. If you check our raw materials and intermediate goods, is over 75%. Check the capital and consumer goods. We are consuming what we don't have, what was given to us naturally by God. We are not finishing it because all of us are keeping our money abroad. All you rich people, Africans, Europeans, you keep money in foreign banks, you then borrow us at the expensive rate. We can add value. Why can we add value to our own stuff and sell and export it? No, we must sell our raw materials and buy the capital goods back home. How are we going to never break this cycle? Look at this slide. This is your continent. This is what we have. Look at all the resources we have as Africans. How rich, how beautiful is this? Mother Earth is really biased towards you guys. And yet you don't realize it. See other regions. See what they produce. See what they have. You'll have services built on your backbone. It's painful to watch sometimes in my business. My point before I go to my next slide, without investment in infrastructure, people like me will keep coming on bikes to come here. We'll keep buying Louis Vuitton. You know the biggest export market for our goat skin in Kano is Europe for Gucci and Louis Vuitton. They buy our goat skin and they give us Louis Vuitton. Kai, if I can do my own Louis Vuitton in Nigeria, it will be cheaper. We don't have enough jewelry. It's serious stuff, guys. We have everywhere for crisis. In Ghana, they call it doomsday, no power. In Ghana, they call it load shedding. They call it NEPA. We don't have electricity on our continent. That's where we are. Investment in infrastructure, be it infrastructure that must facilitate movement of people and trade, is the only way that will change that narrative. And this is the gospel we must also subscribe to. Cocoa, chocolate, gold jewelry, I've said it. Cocoa is $4 billion. Chocolate is $100 billion. How does that even make sense? Because we refuse to be our own brother's keepers. All of you will probably just keep your money in a bank and give your brother that wants to invest. But it's changing. I'm going to tell you a story that's changing. It's not hopeless. It's why him is my future. Because they call it Generation Alpha. Generation Alpha is Africa's future. I love them. They're knowledgeable. They know. They're doing crazy. They don't even see race or color. They see competencies. They don't care about where you're from. They're competent. They're aggressive. They're young. They want to own the world. They're already investing in their own thing. We're coming to that story very soon. Again, I can give you all the numbers every day. We don't even empower our own women. There are over 350 SMEs on the continent. More than 51% are women, but they get 3% of the capital. How can we build a continent where the entrepreneurs that are most active don't get enough capital because they are women? When gender should be an advantage. I just give an example of an empress that dominated the Italian, and we are telling that the women are the weaker sex. Any man that thinks so is a stupid man. They are better managers. They're more calculating. What are you talking about? And all our SMEs, and any country who cannot look at the SMEs or continent, they've lost it. Whenever we look at our women or our young. Just to put the infrastructure into the perspective. See railway lines. See everything here. Railway, power, road, fixed broadband. See the ratio. See Africa. And yet, what are we talking about? If you don't fix this, nothing will happen. See our ratios. Of course, and our brothers are not far from us here in a bit, but they're still double us. When you ask me about Latin America, Nigeria 10 years ahead. How many of our leaders are even in touch with reality? I think, as a rule, people who are brilliant should be banned from politics. Yeah. As a rule. I think brilliance and success are not correlated in politics. Because they actually all have no emotional intelligence, or even what they call street credibility or street connection. They don't know what the man on the street wants. They should go into technocracy and government management and push strategy where people that understand and can engage. That's the issues about continent. What markets are on the continent? What market fragmentation? Why? I'll tell you why. Why can't we just have one market for a lot of our products? It is cheaper to do Lagos to London than Lagos to Chad. Lagos to Sudan. Can you imagine that though? Sudan. London. You know why? I'm probably have to go to France, go to Sudan. Yeah, yes, there's no direct flight. Doesn't make sense. It is cheaper to go to London or France than go to Sudan. Just insane though. Cape Verde, unless Cape Verde is flying you, you're going to have to put all I can tell you. So if you don't open the routes, the transport routes, all the routes, how are you going to do trade and commerce? How do people move? Problem, fragmentation market, regional market. You have East African doing his own thing, SA doing his own thing. What does that all mean? I can tell you about everything. I'm coming again. We have a session, Q&A. I can say anybody's. I like sharp people down it, and I'm ready for it. My slide. Despite what everybody says about Africa not being a great or the best solution, forget about the best solution. Start with something, though. It's something. Let's embrace it. It's not optimal, not the best, but a conversation. Let's start doing the best with what we have. Our problem as Africans is that we are great analysts in Africa. We are great analysts. Our opinion is one of the best. We have opinion for days. We don't do shit. Let's start doing and talking less. Let's what we have and make the best of it and improve it. Let's quit talking, guys. Numbers are there. I'm a believer in African free trader. I think it's going to help us for those that want to leverage it. And others that are complaining, they stay there. When I start disrupting you from Sudan, stop complaining. I think the benefits of the market, from single market for goods and services, which is important, this is the first level to trade liberalization, to streamlining memberships. And I think the first level will be good. Won't it be nice? Do you realize that some countries in Africa that I can't travel to without a visa? I mean, how does that make sense to you? Why don't you live and go and stay in your country and move to your country? Some people will anyway. But come on, we are one market. Guess what? It's free for European American. Africans can enter it. How does that even make sense? Imagine if you had one AU passport. Imagine if you had one market, one tax regime, one fiscal regime. I think quickly, to facilitate the continental trade, customs is a major issue, we all know it. Logistics is challenging. Tech and the product framework. Okay, so now to you guys, what can we do? We've done all the What I like to do, all the context setting, the background, what does the future mean? This number is about diaspora remittance. If you look at this slide, you know I like this slide. When people tell us that Africa is charity, I'm like, charity, how? See the FDI flows, and it's investment-led. See the grants. How is dated? It's 41 billion. See diaspora remittance. It's more than almost double our grants. We don't need grants. We need more trade. Is there? So this, if you take this and you add this and this together, FD and FPI flows, diaspora remittance is more than this. And this again is captured diaspora remittance. I'm sure everybody going to say, let me take something home very quickly. Who's capturing that? Let me take this dress home. Rather than buy it, you send a dress. That's capital movement. If I adjust this for the youth number, it will be almost all of these three together and more. Africa does not need grants and charity. What we need is engagement. We say, what we need from you guys in diaspora is not just your money. It is collaborative research and information. Give us what you have learned being abroad. Please, each of you come back home twice a year or once a year. Do a session for 2 weeks and train people on what you have learned. Share research with us. Put it online. Keep it open. Let us read. You're all open to various new information that we are not open to. Give it to us. Let us read it. Skill development. Come and teach us what you have learned by coming here. You're ambassadors. Come back home. Teach us how to code. There are 20,000 coders in San Francisco Bay Area alone. There are 9,000 in Africa, almost 1 for 1. Bay Area, Africa. We talk about almost 10 million coders. How do we get there? You must teach us though. Online, physical, teach us. Give us skill. Don't give us money to go and buy food or buy shoe. Invest in our businesses. The lash tech, lashes, they're making plenty money. The hair tech, hair. Amazon just opened a store for African hair. Amazon is about to take your lunch. All of you do not use hair you're all wearing. Amazon is taking 50% of it very soon. How about you invest in the salons around your area and give them the ability to be able to do it? Investment, not money. You know why? When you do investment, you're able to go and support and ask questions, help them scale and transfer skill. We don't want your money, your gift, your charities. And trade. Africa compared to all other diaspora that are very big. Jews, the Chinese, Lebanese. See their GDP per capita. See our remittance. Our remittance is almost bigger than most of them, by second highest. See Nigeria, next to just China. See the impact of remittance on GDP. It is shambolic. Because you all just come for Christmas, come and party and go back. That's cool, party. Invest for the party. Take that driver. Eh? Not that, they're investing in champagne that we're buying from France. Guys, think about it though. You're investing in champagne. They're buying from France and Europe. How about that? There are other drinks, great drinks in Nigeria, like I'm saying. I'm not saying don't buy your champagne, but if you see somebody making some good gin or good, invest in them too, small money. Support them, expose them. This is why the Africa Center is important to me. In the Africa Center, we will bring the best African ideas to come and showcase them here so that they see partners. And they will not sell their business for cheap because they are desperate. These numbers are there. We don't want your money. This is what Africa needs to grow. This is why I'm here. To tell you, all of you here, you have a role to play. Each one, help one. No, each one, invest in one instead. Don't help. Invest and commit to it. Again, this is what it is. We've done a research. We have all numbers here. We can share you. We have tons and tons of research here, guys. You guys play an important role in the future of the world that we see. You are stronger than you think you are. Take charge of the future. Tell your kids, and the future can be kinder to you. I'll give you examples what you can do on each one. I'll share this like, what is it? How? So don't ask me how. People tell me, I want to invest in Nigeria, but I'm afraid they'll steal my money. I say, how to do it? Oh, I wanted to build a house in my village. My brother stole my money. Don't give your brother money to build your village. Go to a construction company and give them money. Why we all complain about things about what didn't go on, not owning why it didn't go on. There are ways of investing money in structured ways, through banks, through advisor companies, or building houses, through companies. You better pay, but don't be penny wise and pound foolish. Invest in structured and people who are hungry. There are ways which you can do each one. Again, we'll share with you. I talk about brain drain. I think I'm a big fan of brain drain. Because for me, it's brain gain. There's no drain in brain. You can't drain it. Healthcare is a major opportunity. I've given you all the examples. You can put in money here. I will not spend that. So one of the things we then do when we talk to guys like you people here, like, what are the opportunities in Africa? What sectors? Could you ask me? These are the sectors. 10. And each of them, what you should invest in each of them. As a rule, let me first help all of you guys decide what to invest in. A 3-man foolish rule, I call it. I'm a fool. I like being a fool. I'm only stupid once. When I'm a fool, then I know that I don't know anything. You that you know, you must tell me. Do not invest in anything that you don't understand. Rule 1. You don't understand it, don't put money in it. You know, people are going to give you the crazy ideas that sound, complex models. Anything. Anything you do not understand is not for your money. It's not for you. See, I can understand hair. Women wear plenty hair. You want to buy and sell hair, I'll put money. Because I know that. What I ask you, how will you sell it? Will you sell it to? What price points? You can understand. Invest in what you understand. Rule 2. The person selling tries to ask you for investment. If they cannot explain to a 5-year-old, so take a rule of thumb. You understand it. Okay, good, pay it. Call your 5-year-old son or nephew. Yeah? Explain to that boy. That boy does not understand. It's a bad deal. Simple. You know why? It means it's not long-term sustainable. It's probably momentum or complex. If it's complex, it's not for you. Let the people, and it's not a bad deal. Let the people who understand better do that, take risk. For you, your money is bottom pot money. It's what you understand, what you check and understand, you put money in. And thirdly, just don't invest and go to sleep. Do a month-to-month call. How is it going? How can I help you? Add value. That person can see you as a partner, not just a money bank. We call some sectors foundational sectors. They are very important to Africa's future. They are primary. If you get about energy rights and feed ourselves and build our industries, we'll keep the first level of growth. Second are enablers. So you have foundational sectors that are key to our development. How do you then enable growth? In terms of Maslow's theory, sustenance, existence, and everything, hierarchy of needs. This is second level. It then enables the first. And last level is quality of life. It's when you have food in your stomach, when you have light in your house, when you have cars on the road, that you want to care about the other things of movies, everything. That's levels. Again, we'll share with you understand. The things are clear. We're able to engage anybody. We think that Africa is a great opportunity. I'll come to your question very soon. Among other things. But another thing I want Africans to stop doing. Africans will understand that when a global war for capital, let me explain this to you. So if you go for an interview for a job and they ask you, why do you deserve a job? You will say, I'm crazy, I'm bad, I have mood swings. You don't say that. Do you say other things? You say your best foot forward. How do you have think that when you go to want to raise money? Africa is bad. We kidnap. We're hungry. Why do you say about your continent first? Why do you do that though? You all laugh. That's what we all do. All we do is point negatives about our continent, not good things. Start with the good things. You are what you say all the time. Reinforce the good things. The challenges are real. But the good are not real as well. Feed the good things. Celebrate our wins. I'll leave you a few thoughts. Food for thought as I wrap up. Is GDP R2 or GNP? Nationality or descent? What truly is the size of Nigeria if you have almost 400 million people outside? Are we that small or bigger than that? How do we take all these informal skills into gig? How do we digitize them using technology? It's very important because that then changes the conversation and makes them formal. Education was built after the prison system. It's a time-based skill acquisition program. How do we do a knowledge-based program? That's not about time, it's knowledge-driven. So if I know how to do this right now, I move to the next level. Not 1 year to wait to move to the next level. Hair, makeup, lashes, nails, fashion, everything. Big business. How do we formalize it? Take them online. Give them payment systems. Give them mobility. Give them exposure. Brand them. How do we attract them to start coming to do everything on the continent? Do you realize that most of our schools don't teach history anymore? Insane. We don't teach our history. They've removed history from our curriculum. Want to wipe us our heritage. How do you know where you're from? Bring it back. Focus on positive. I think everybody don't understand. Everybody think that nation building is government's work. It's a lie. It's your work. Governments don't build countries. People build countries. You must see yourself as a president of your own region and do your part to make your region better. But your region may be just one street, or Africa Center, or just one room. If we all do our part in a chain, we're all stronger. Stop complaining. Start doing something. We're all criminals. We owe the continent. Capital formation at the base level. Invest in your brothers and sisters. That I'm not saying you should give up every money. If you have $100,000 to spend on club, take $100, put it in some business. Right? Just 10% of that campaign money that you're talking about. I think, to summarize, we must transition our SMEs to corporations. We have over 350 million SMEs. US has just 30 million SMEs. They are bigger than us because their transition from SMEs to corporations is very big. Gig economy is very important. Making informal gig extremely important. Empower our women, please. Very important. Anybody who is not supporting a woman, you'll be a criminal. You're a criminal. Because you're raping our future. Policy making and not politics. African. Let me not tell you this. So see this map. This is my conclusion slide. Few slides. When you say, let me tell you what African used to mean. It used to mean this. 8,000 years ago. You can't see countries here. You saw people here. Tribes. See it 6,000 years ago. See it 1 year ago. Do you see any line here? You saw empires here. You know why? There were trade points. People moved around and did trade. They were moved. That's how we had a lot of cross-pollination. You know what made all this slide great? Africa was number 1 in the world. The whole world came to us in this region because we were one. There were no lines here. There were no borders that made us barriers. They were all bridges to be crossed. It goes further. Again, see, when the white man started coming, see, gradually, see what happened to us not talking. You see? Then in 1884, they gave us 54 countries in Berlin. They made our brothers our enemies. I think, as a rule, we missed the point. Because what divides us separates us. However, what binds us makes us stronger. Our ancestry is too strong for us to let borders and barriers separate us. We are only stronger when we act as one. When you look at your next, and your brother is next to you, and you're keeping your brother. I believe Africa's future is tied to our oneness and collaborating. Our young people, average age of 18, growing every year, skilling, they consume technology, they consume everything. They're exposed, they're diligent, they're hungry, and they're actually global natives. The future belongs to those people. We have to support them as one. As one. Africa's oneness is a must. Now, all of you probably don't realize it. For me, black is not a color. Black is a vibe. Black means be your brother's keeper. Extremely important. Look after that. L, loyalty. Be loyal to your brother, to your cause, and to the continent. A, authenticity. Be authentic. Forget all this nonsense. Be who you are. Be comfortable being different and celebrate it and collaborate. Not bring down. C is capability. Which is competence at multiple levels, and K is knowledge. If you have all this, you're black. I don't care what color you think you are. You're black. You need a lot of black people on the continent, not the color of your skin. Because I showed you from the start, everybody is black anyway. So no, it can't be the color of your skin. It has to be your spirit. It has to be your spirit. It has to be your mindset. It has to be your thinking. Now, look at this. All of you have watched Black Panther. And you all see it's mythical. And when people say that Wakanda is impossible, I get heartbroken. Come in. You know why? I've seen 2 Wakandas in my lifetime. Let's call Wakanda very quickly. Singapore 30 years ago, Singapore now. That looks like Wakanda to me, right? In 30 years, some people build a nation. Now, Singapore, in the 60s, almost wanted to sell itself to Malaysia. They said, please come and take us. We cannot exit our own. Malaysia, come and take us. Malaysia said, no. They were driven out of Malaysia. They then wanted to go back to Malaysia. They come on. They said, no, we don't want you. They then looked inward. See. Dubai. The first 2 planes of Emirates were borrowed from Pakistan Airlines. Air Pakistan. Emirates, yeah. I've seen 2 Wakandas in my lifetime. Yeah, food for thought, right? And yet, we are talking about Wakanda being a movie. We have what it takes to create our own Wakanda on the continent. We have the resources, we have the tech, we have the people. Why don't we make Wakanda a thing? I work for a company called Petrochemical Capital. We're doing our part. We're investing. I thank God for listening. And that is my presentation. Thank you very much.
In terms of, as a collective diaspora body, how do we document the story going forward to ensure that in the future there is a nice story to for our children and our children's children to learn? So
you've asked me 2 questions.
Aside the solo kind of roots.
Let me do the first one, and they're very important to me: women and history. I want to give every man here a mandate. If by the end of this year you have not backed a female entrepreneur, you should be ashamed of yourself. Every man here. December 31st this year is not too late. Look for a female entrepreneur and back her. Forget that she's not the perfect article yet. Support her. And that's this year's goal for you. The next year, every quarter, find a friend of yours and tell them about backing a female entrepreneur. We have to let women have struggles or challenges accessing capital in a structured way. The appraisal methodology is not skewed towards them. Does not make them inferior. Just because they have to go and make babies for 9 months, they don't make them inefficient. Just because they are home making babies, nurturing about kids, our future, does not mean them incapable. In technology, in this age, women are now working remotely from homes. One, every man here back a woman by December. Every man here, every quarter, find a man back a woman. Now, every woman here, if you are ever in a room where they are speaking bad about another woman and you don't get out, my God will strike you. My God will strike you. Every woman here who is in a room where another one is being spoken of in a bad way and you don't get out or them shut up, my God will strike you. No, it's very important. I want to deal with this issue head on. Because women say crap about each other so much. Getting the top is tough enough. Don't tell me she slept to the top. You don't want to sleep to the top, is that easy? How can you sleep to the top? Is that easy? And if you sleep to the top, clap for her and say, learn how to do it or shut up and learn your own way. But do not be in the room where she's being brought down. The hustle is real. You don't know what men go to make a buck. You have no idea what we go through every day. How our dignity is eroded. We keep going every day. Now, for women, it's different. Do not make a woman's job who is trying to make a difference tougher by talking about her because of your own incapabilities or your own challenges or your own demons. So every woman here, I've told men, if you are in a room where my God will strike you, it's funny. Because I can't just struggle with it. It's tough enough trying to be an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is tough. It's God's work. Oh. It's not for the faint-hearted. I'm telling you, you see the salaries every month. You see the bills. This is suppliers. You see the insult you get every day. You can't even sleep. You're having demons. You're protecting your dream. You are dreaming. You are talking in your sleep. It is tough. For a guy, you also have to kiss everything just to get a buck. For a woman, everyone is chasing you for 41 naira. And not saying that I slept to the top. Come on, go and sleep to the top. It's that easy. Entrepreneurship is what will save us. We must all encourage every woman to get involved in doing it in a structured way. Very, very important. If every man here then backs a woman, you get better women who have better track record, who have better narrative, and can scale better. The capital providers like bank, funds can then look at them differently. Very important. Extremely important to me. Because I'm not even sure we get that. I think on the documentation story, we're trying to do a lot more. There are a few guys on the continent documenting that story. I'm going to approach it from 3 different perspectives. First, I have to catch them young. Animation. What we tell our own. How come almost every superhero is not, except maybe the new one, that Wakanda, Black Panther is white? How is that possible? How is Shango Thor? How is Mami not Yemoja? I don't understand. What are we talking about here? We will start catching our kids young with animation suites of our ancestry. We are funding a few animation tech businesses in Kenya. And Ada Animation, check out. Joy is a phenomenal woman doing great stories. In South Africa, in Nigeria. The name skipped me, apologies. Your name skipped me, And let us tell animation stories so that the kids first grow up with that pride on saying, when you are young, when you see heroes that you can relate to that is black, you start believing that it's possible. It's from that age. So that's very important that we do that. All of you look for animation tech businesses that are African stories, African folklores. Let's document it in animation films. Let's do short movies. Okay, one is too big for 1 hour. Shoot 30-minute stories. Put them on YouTube. Let's just dump them there. The average 14-year-old spends 10 hours a day online, doing gaming or doing YouTube. Let's give them options. It's very important. 2, documentaries. We are doing a few of them. Other people are doing a few of them. Whether it's entertainment or... If you ever watch this series on Netflix called Journey to the African Colony, by Shukwa Sasore, or part of it, great story about African colony, go with that part of us. There are other things coming out. There are people doing Afrobeats, doing another one called Yoruba Club. We need more documentaries. We need to talk to our older ones more. For some reason, we always think being old is being stupid. What our kids do to our own older brothers too. This one will say that we don't know anything. We say our mom don't know anything. Do we sit down and document what's in their mind? If you have somebody above, you have anybody who you think is old in your family, don't wait for me. Go and record it. Don't write it. You can record. Tell me about how you grew up. For a long time, they said we had no medieval history as Africans. How is that possible? We had no medieval history. When the oldest human skeleton is African, we just remember the Kush, the Kemites, all the Egyptian emperors were black. I can show you online. Let's start telling stories. If we all form a club, I was telling African Center yesterday, the African Center has a 60-year archive that nobody has seen. Not only do we hoard information, we hoard sanity as Africans. We're just crazy. We hoard it. The African Center must tell a story. Mandela wrote his speech was here. People were here. Let people know that African Center exists. This African Center is in 3 buildings here. You guys didn't know about it. Why would you know when they don't tell their own stories? This way you can bring your kids to and say, go and learn about Africa there. Africa can be almost the Africa house for Africa, where everybody that wants to Africa come home. We need more Africa centers around the world. We need more media. We need more events that drive engagement from arts to music. We need more. Let me tell you guys, I'm a firm believer in Afrobeat, and I think Afrobeat can be that thing that we want. Afrobeat, Afrofusion, Afro cuisine. I'm a believer in all those. We invest in it a lot. But if we do not seize the momentum, I'll give you 2 examples. In the 60s and 70s, America exported its fashion, its culture, its music, everything, and dominated the world. They sustained it with technology and owned it. You all remember back just 20 years ago, it was the Caribbean movement. It was raga. It was everything. It was the food. It was jerk chicken, everything. Where are they now? We must seize. We must stop talking down about Whiskey and Burna Boy fighting. No, it doesn't benefit you. Do each one and propagate them. We must. That's a great kitchen here at Africa Center. A great chef. Akwesi, who just won the best chef of the year in London. You don't know about him. Come and eat his food. Celebrate him. Let's celebrate each other. The sky is big enough for everybody. The sun and the moon exist. The sun can only shine 12 hours in a day. The moon must shine too. To every sun, there are many moons. Be the moons. We can't be moons, guys. Storytelling is what we must do. But beyond that, we must support everybody doing something.
I don't know how we're doing with time.
I think we've got about half an hour. So should we open the floor? Okay, so I'm starting from the back. So let me just see
first.
a show.
Please, ladies first. I'm very biased towards women. Ladies first. I'm telling you, gentlemen, ladies. The future is feminine. So let me be nice to ladies. In the future, they're nice to me. All the men that are nice to men, they will remember you. Women don't forget.
Ladies first.
Yes.
Hi, thank you so much for everything you've said. Oh, sorry, my name's Sammy. Thank you very much for everything you said so far. It's been really inspiring. I have a question about kind of investing in Africa, specifically Nigeria, because I know as diaspora, someone who was born here and doesn't necessarily have as many ties and connections back home, it can be quite overwhelming and a bit daunting when you're thinking of investing and in like a structured way, like you mentioned. So do you have any kind of specific ways for people who are genuinely interested in investing back in Nigeria or wherever they want to invest in Africa to just get them started and just take away the overwhelmingness from it?
Yeah. So you were born in UK here?
Yeah.
Have you been to Nigeria?
Yeah, many times. I was there in February.
To do what? To do a party? Or
no, actually. I actually have an agriculture business, so
you
a farm.
You already invested
I've
there.
already invested, but
Great.
It was overwhelming for me.
So again, 5-step rule to invest in Africa and diaspora. First, visit. Don't put money unless you visited. Go and see for yourself. Point 1. Don't read anything online about the country. And it's not that unsafe, don't worry. It's not unsafe. It's not worse than where you are right now in Southeast or Bronx or anywhere. Yeah. First is visit the country yourself. There is no substitute for first-hand research. 2, anything you do, talk to 2 people. Those that have done it successfully, those that have failed. Hear both sides. Very important. So I want to do something, I go to the country. Okay, done it before. Find out. Oh, you work for me, this is why I work. You work for me, hear both sides. 2. 3, find out people in that sector that are already doing what you want to invest in. Don't just say, my friend said, no. Who is doing hair? Are they successful? Is hair? Or is it Vietnamese? Is it Indian? How do they get it in? How do they pay for it? Find out. Ask question. That's 3. 4, do not invest in anything you do not understand. Don't do it. Understand it. And 5, long term. The best thing, or second best thing God gave mankind is compounding. Compounding. I love compounding. Compounding happens in real life and in finance. So when you have children born from the same family, when they are young, they all act alike. But even though they have small differences, as time goes on, as they grow, that difference compounds over time into big differences. Now when they're like in their 40s, they can't even talk anymore. Like, I did the same family. Same thing for money. You do an investment, you take a 15-year view, it compounds over time something big. Don't be in a hurry to take our money off top. If 1, you know what you're investing in. If 2, is you are committed to you. If 3, you need your research. If 4, you are supporting it. It's like you're seeding. A sugarcane takes 6 years to get off the ground, and 6 weeks you just go up. Take a long-term view. Wealth is created long-term, not short-term. I hope that helps.
Okay, so now all the women are putting their hands up. It's going to be hard.
I'm sorry, the ladies' world that I'm leading that one.
Okay.
Give them guys a chance too.
Sir, I cannot. He's right there. How am I supposed to skip past him?
I know.
So it's really interesting. I really loved, obviously, the notion of like Wakanda is so vivid now because of like all the blockbuster headlines it's made. And when you see Singapore and Dubai, what they've become and what they were, it's like, 30 years isn't a long time. But there was a strategy and they focused on one thing well and they executed on that. So if you were, King Chale of the whole of Africa, in terms of strategy, like where would you try and focus on first? Because like you've said, there's so many opportunities. It's almost difficult to focus on one thing so you can progress forward.
Don't get me started on that. Of course, I might have thought about that, but and I'll answer you, but I'll do something first. There's a rule called 30-year rule. In 30 years, everyone is an adult. If you're born year 1, you are 30 in 30 years. If you are 10 today, you are 40. 30 years. 30-year rule. You'll be an adult. You'll be almost a father of a teenager in your 40s, right? Yes, darling. So, 30-year rule. Let me tell you why 30 years is very important. And I show you a picture in 30 years of these countries. 30 years is the time enough it takes for that growth you're asking for to happen. Yes, it does. And I'll give you the example. 30 years. So first, it took South Korea about 30 years to be a great nation to it is today. It was, if you take and read their history. There's a great book called Upheaval by Jared Diamond. All of you go and read it. It's a great book. It's how nations go and read Upheaval. I love the book. It's about chaos and how our countries went from chaos into big. He has a Chile example, Japan example, great examples. But 30 years is a phenomenal time frame because 3 decades is almost one generation in between generations, right? So what's my vision? I say it privately, but I'm crazy not to say it publicly right now. So Wakanda will be tough in the way Africa has been decimated by the colonials. 54 countries. All of them they have their own barriers, they have their own history, they have their own everything. It'll be tough. It's not undoable. Rwanda is a great example of a possibility with its own demons as well. So what's my view? There is a concept called new cities. I think we can buy an island off the coast of Africa. There are plenty of islands. Matter of how big is Dubai really? Part of UAE is very small. It's not a big landmass. They reclaim water. We can buy an island first. So you buy an island. You make the island a principality like Monaco, tied to a country like France. After a while, that becomes an independent state like Suriname was. After a while, it becomes a country like Suriname is right now. You then tie that country, you then find people who are citizens of that country, not because they're just born there. They earn the right to visit by skill. We then build a Wakanda. Bottom up. Who knows? Dubai has less than 1.2 million people and 6 million immigrants. Bahrain, same thing. Qatar, same thing. My vision of a Wakanda will build herself one. We can. Crazy, I know. Yeah.
I'm still stuck on, I might start calling you Chichala from now on.
Thank you all so much. So my name's Hadiza. I have a question and it's really around the mindset. My question is, so even here in the diaspora as we are, you see very limited investment from Black Africans, whether you're thinking about shops, whether you're thinking about like investing in finance. So I guess my question is, if there's limited investment here where we are, is it a mindset shift for people to want to invest more in Africa and other things? Because I just don't see many Black owners when it comes to businesses, when it comes to just any type of investment. So I don't know, when I look and when I'm thinking about, why, I just think it's really connected to the mindset.
So I'll tell you, you're right about that. One of the great examples I'm going to give, and this people can disagree or not, is so I was 19, like all of you guys, I stayed back home. I didn't live in Nigeria. And I wasn't born abroad like Helen here, so I had nowhere to go to. When President Obasanjo became president, he said he wanted to create some black billionaires. There's something called anchoring, mental anchoring. You see, you are what you see. So he created an enabler. No, I'm not saying anything about the policy how it worked. Because some people say BE in South Africa. I'm not going to do that. But let me tell you what happened. Those of us that saw that people become successful by hard working, by positioning, believed we could do it. And that do something in us. You see, the challenge with UK than the US, and I spoke about earlier, is that there are few black anchors for people to look up to in UK. So people almost believe that they have to be lawyers or accountants to be okay in UK. There are very few black successful entrepreneurs who stand out. Because either by deliberateness or by accident, we haven't created enough. So what would a young guy like him look up to in UK? Now, that thesis called BAME investment, Black, Asian, and Middle Eastern opportunities. If you go around areas like this, they have shops. How do those shops become collection of shops, chain of shops? They have food. They have everything. My belief is that Africa Center and its like needs to run that incubator next door to incubate great ideas, to create great businesses that are successful, so that the young one can say, I want to be like this person. I want to be like that person. You see, as great as education is, it needs to go hand in hand with entrepreneurship and development for it to work effectively. We have to unleash entrepreneurs. When you unleash entrepreneurship, managers then come in and support the next level. So first, I believe the UK and the people in diaspora need to work on, find everybody that you think has potential. Put your money and bring them to be like Africa, like us. Guys, let's put money in this guy. Now, I bet you will get 100 of them, only one of them will do well. But that one will make money for everybody else. But that one, beyond making money for us, will give your son, your daughter an example, say, I want to be like that person. The US has a bit more examples of black billionaires. We don't have them here. Let's create them. Let's create them. Let's also then, in creating them, work with them across the continent to bring. This is a great time to be in the UK. Forget all the negative things you're hearing. I know mortgages are high. I know financing is high. I know things are expensive. I hear all that. I hear 5 things. I love you, are not listening. I was telling my banker today. I hear 1. UK has relaxed entry barriers for migrant workers that are skilled. Opportunity. Wow. That means cost of labor for entrepreneurs can be cheaper if they are structured. If you have a structured business, you can get migrant workers who have skills that you don't have here and bring them in. UK is opening trade relationship with African countries, like Sierra Leone, other things, incentives, exploit. 3, because of things that have gone more expensive, that people are looking for alternative solutions to solve what they currently have. Inward and insourcing. 4, women entrepreneurship. 5, there are things, and you are still in one of the top 3 greatest financial markets in the world. So I think if we leverage what the upside in the UK is, if we, in an intentional way, focus on being our brother's keeper and investing in our brother and supporting him, knowing fully well that the money you're investing is not money you need to survive, but the money you can afford to not lose, but give. In the opinion, or in the optionality that 1 of 10 will succeed. And you then give more than money, you give attention, you give skill. We'll create a body of people who can mental across to the next generation who will then take us forward. Bearing in mind of the 30 years rule. That's what I think. Hope that makes sense. Yes.
And actually on the UK, I wanted Ajo's thoughts as well, because your last EBII conference was in the UK. And I wondered what were the key things that came out of that now that we're post-Brexit, now that we're all of the things that have changed. How can we move policy towards enabling Wakanda?
So this is an interesting question. I was actually having a conversation with one of the central bank governors a week ago about this because she expressed her frustration currently within government and the fact that sometimes you're trying to do things the right way, but there's so many, like you said, the mindset. So what can we do to get a Wakanda? So it's going to be a lot of, we were actually talking about Rwanda, and I think it's something to do with the term of, how we have the democracy. The democracy is what's creating a lot of the problem, and I will explain. The fact that we have 4-year term or 5-year term, and then this person comes on and they have, people gave them money to be able to win the election, and therefore that's so much, they owe them a lot of favor, and a lot of, it's almost like they have to pay them back somehow. So when things are going wrong, they appoint a lot of these people within government. When things are going wrong, they can't say it. And then it starts from the tone from the top, really is the leadership. As much as we all have a responsibility, I think the leadership and quite a lot of things that there's a lot of structural issues and a mindset issue. And I think that the Rwanda situation, it's almost like a better way forward. I know that you can have a dictator who is there for doing something good and one that is a negative. And I think that Rwanda direction, because he's not leaving government, he's like forever and ever president until he dies and go or something like that. And so there's a vision for the country that he is steering that vision, and it's not, he doesn't have to leave in the next 4 years for somebody else come and destroy it. I don't know if I've answered your question. So
I want to chip in there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you to come in. I saw your face. I was going to, because I think corruption and leadership is also very integral to the problem.
A very interesting spin to that, right? I think what my colleague here has described, which is a school of thought that's I've heard often, is democracy versus autocracy or dictatorship. And which one? And I think those conversations are important, but they hide one thing. The reason why democracy looks like it is not working and not autocracy is that it's not about the type of governance itself, it's a type of planning. Most governments don't have 100-year or 30-year plans. Let's first pause. I'm coming. So as a rule, let me give you an example, right? So if you had a 30-year or 100-year plan as a nation that the whole nation has signed on to, government or not, you're all tracking one direction. I wish, again, I'm not advertising this book, but this book changed my mindset about governance. Upheaval, Jared Diamond. There are countries who have been in major transition points, like Finland, like Chile, like Japan, like Indonesia. They don't have autocracy, but they've grown. How did they do it? The first form of every country on the continent must declare chaos. We have failed. Let's have a conversation about failure. We have failed. Chaos. We must first admit that it's not working. Whether it's autocracy or democracy, what works for us? Rwanda was better than the Rwandan war. Chaos happened and Paul Kagame came. So chaos, whether it is genocide, war, or admittance of failure or chaos, the whole continent galvanized around the concept of chaos. Then our faith is not working. You then develop a natural framework for what you want. I don't want to kill the book before you guys read it. The two things I think are missing. I'm not going to promote democracy, autocracy, or dictatorship. That's what I want to care about. First is an admission that first, we as Africans have failed ourselves, both as a people, as a government, and as diaspora, failed. And not blame game, admission of chaos. And a conversation on how do we move forward as people. A proper conversation, not a natural conference that somebody teleguides. We live in a digital area where we can get all inputs and synthesize them into a movement. So even if you have an autocracy that's not successful, it will go away. Why cases like Rwanda, Singapore was because the citizens could see a national direction we were moving to that was making sense. My concept of a Wakanda, why I said it's tough for existing, just said build it. But if a country can admit and say, we failed, that a president boldness say, we failed as a nation. Let's talk. What do? We start it with our local government levels. We engage, we then build it into a genuine solution. I believe we'll make progress. So I hear you about that, but that's my view.
So I'm looking at it from the Africa context because we've tried to do it, this is something that's been going on for a long time and many people have tried to help solve this issue in Africa. So this is where I'm looking at it from, that having one visionary, but I understand your point. Your idea has worked in many countries, but for some reason it's not working so well on the African continent. Yeah, so this is
we play politics with it. I understand what you're saying. Tell me if African country has had a genuine conversation about moving forward. I don't know one. And be careful, because I know all the examples. I don't know one. I don't know. But I'm saying, no, again, so that's what I'm saying to you, though.
Okay, so
I think, and I'm not saying so, it's not so much incentive. I'm coming, but my point is again, guys, you get the government you deserve. Well, the problem first, not the government, though. I've said it before. If all of you are doing the right thing, you can get a good government. Let's not beat this issue up. I can enter each of you one by one, including myself. Charity begins at home. Let's start from home.
So we've got a few minutes left. So I have a question here, and then this lovely lady wanted to come into a point, and then, so can I just see anybody else that have, so we'll take the last few together.
Okay.
So 1, 2, okay. So we'll do question, comment, 2 questions.
Okay.
We okay?
Yeah.
Great, okay.
Hello, good evening. My name is Mariama. I run a clean energy business in Sierra Leone. So thank you so much for the shouting out to women entrepreneurs. And I think that's been like one of our challenges of local financing going back into African countries. So for example, Sierra Leone, where I'm from, with our history, it becomes really, really difficult. So I just wanted to get your thoughts around that. And then for us as a business trying to scale, what kind of advice can you give us move in that direction?
I mean, there are quite a few I need to know more what you do. I'm happy to have a private chat with you to help you. We are in Sierra Leone. We have an office in Sierra Leone. I have people on ground. So talk to me. You can talk to both Edlin and what's that guy's name again? He's going to shoot Farrell before he shoots me for not knowing his name. So we have a team on ground. We can support you. We can help you think about financing. I love Sierra Leone. I think Sierra Leone has massive potential. 7.something million people. Gradually working with that of post-conflict, rich in resources, rich. I think the best thing about Sierra Leone is water. Is the not just the water, but the people, resilient people, diverse. So I think there's opportunity there, right? We're happy to, and clean energy makes sense. Clean energy makes sense everywhere. There are various funds available to you to tap into in terms of grants, in terms of investment, in terms of capital, debt, everything. Let's chat after. We can guide that. Again, my shout out to women entrepreneurs is not because I'm playing politics. I believe in it, right? It just speaks. If you look at if you do this audience again, 1.5 are women. Every conversation, women are important. Until now, we can only say it. Women have to want it. We can only say that women are important, but nobody has ever given anybody power. You take it, you fight for it, you go for it. So women have to also go for it as well, and don't bring each other down. Come for it. It's available. Talk to each other. Talk to somebody that collectively fight. Look at the ant culture. And I'm going to go into something about the ants. I'll do it for a wrap up. My point is, you're in a great sector, clean energy. You are obviously exposed and you have access to UK. That capital is available to you, and you are clear enough what you want. That means you have a clear vision. You shouldn't have any money raising capital. Let's talk. Sorry.
Hi. I have actually 2 comments. My first comment is to the lovely lady. I think it's very concerning when we ascribe the freedom of a human being to vote and to dictate their lives and who rules them as a way of making economic decisions. I think there are lots of examples of dictatorships and autocracies in Africa that really didn't work. And I think that beyond the spreadsheets and GDP and the economic talk, there's a very real life human right, the personal right to self-determination and to contribute to how you're governed. So I think that that's a really important point. My second point, my second point is really to look at women as entrepreneurs. And my point is directed to Dr. Akintoye, is also women as investors and capital allocators. You spoke a great deal about having to see something, have a role model, to be able to aspire to an ambition. I think that another way of supporting women and getting women access to finance is to have more women actually act as investors, more women as capital allocators. I know that Arua Capital recently did the biggest $10 million fund in Nigeria, the largest GP deal there. So I'm really interested in your view on helping women actually get on the other side and actually start working as investors. Thank you very much.
Okay. Let's take a question. You can comment later.
So, Adjoa and Doc, do you want to?
No, I'll deal with that question after. Okay. I just think Adjoa and I don't want to get into an argument.
So,
with
Adjoa asked you to answer that. If I can have a show of hands of the last two, and then two women, awesome.
Two
okay.
Women, yes.
And then, okay, please go ahead then. In that case.
Hi, I'm Tiwa. I work in the private equity space, and congratulations to my colleague Arua Capital on raising that fund. And I'm also setting up a fund for women, Mino Capital. So
called what?
Mino Capital.
Mino, M-I-N-O.
Yes. So the women in the Women King, the Dahomey women, they also called the Mino women, which means our mothers. So I thought that was a good name.
Pas français?
I'm petit peu, I'm Yoruba anyway. No, I actually started learning French because the market is huge, but a lot of competition in Nigeria for deals. So if you can speak French and get into the Francophone world, that opens up a whole new world. So I was going to say, so before I started the fund, I did research into the statistic that why is it that 95 to 97% of funds goes to men. And the issues are several fold, but the main one is women in Africa don't tend to have collateral, which makes it very difficult for them to get funding from banks, etc. And there are also social issues. Women don't have the same extensive networks that men do. They don't socialize in places that the deals are made, etc. There's also the perception of competence. So where people tend to see women as kind of small shop keeper type of thing. So when a woman dreams big, that it isn't taken as seriously. So there are various, and also just issues with governance and getting stuff done. So if they go to, government authorities to get certificates, etc., they're faced with sexual harassment and all sorts of things. So I just wanted to know, since you're such a big supporter of women, and I have deals for you, so we can talk afterwards, but what are you doing personally as your fund to support women, not only with the funding, but also some mentoring and helping them with other things such as access to networks?
Were you here for my presentation?
Yes.
Okay, I'll tell you quickly before I answer your question. 53% of my colleagues are female. So our platform capital group, 53%. Management team is 50%. Portfolio company is 45% of my portfolio companies are female. So it's not lip service for me. I believe in it. Last week I gave a talk to women entrepreneurs and women investment, and I don't want to repeat that talk. So I have a lot of. I think that the things you mentioned are not the key reason why women don't raise money. But I don't want to speak to that here. I think the speech is online, or my colleague can show you the speech to you. There's a lot more deeper issues on that. I don't want to be telling you you're wrong because we can all be right together. That's also an issue. I think, first, let me congratulate you for going for a fund. Whether it's PE fund or not is your decision. I'm not going to dissuade you from private equity or not. Whether it works or not for women financing, you will have to figure that one out yourself. We have a woman manager that we have backed, Aggressive Capital, Maya, as well. She also runs a VC fund on the continent. I'm looking for more women to back. I know Arua fairly well as well. I know Alethea. I know most of them. We have a database about the women funds. We can give it to you as well as part of this. So I think we should be careful about women funds financing women. That's again, you are solving a problem, another problem. That's a debt of women managers in the first place. So many women can you have them doing money? So that's nice. We should support women raising funds to support women and men because it's a collective way forward and not discriminatory. Because each time you create a discriminatory or you create a call, what's happening called again, where you are giving some people some advantages, you're creating another problem entirely itself. Whether it is, I believe the conversation has to be an equality conversation is not giving somebody an advantage. It gives somebody an opportunity to come and talk to us. That's my first thesis. Because there are a lot more men investors than women investors. We need to move by getting the men to invest in women and see how they can do it. And also getting women investing in women. Very important. So that's my first theory. It's not women funds that we need only. We need capital available to move. To look at women, how do we appraise women businesses differently? There are also challenges women entrepreneurship. Women are a lot less aggressive in growth than men. So there's a number I'll give to you. 7% of the global startups were women founders. 7. So a lot of the seed fund is 7% of capital went to women. By Series A was 5%. By Series B was 2%. Why? Women don't scale. Because they're very emotional. I want to keep my own. They see demons. Oh, don't expand. Hey, this, that. It's a fact. That's a mindset. Don't get me wrong. Even though women entrepreneurs make more money than men on return, we have that data at that seed level. But scaling for a long-term business over 30, 40 years, you must scale. Women also need to be less emotional about growth, be more objective about capital optimization and allocation, and a lot of other things. See, when women tame their demons, they are kick-ass managers. They are one of the best managers in the world. But they have to get comfortable around the variables at play. And I can spend time with you on that. I have a lot of book on this.
I just wanted to speak something that you said earlier. You said you shouldn't give us an advantage.
No, I didn't. So again, it is not sustainable. So hear what I'm saying to you. So as a rule, our platform, we don't have a portfolio parent women. So we go out and look for women businesses because we believe in it. I'm not saying that. I'm saying give. So there are two theories. And listen, you can shoot me if you like. Nowhere in the history of mankind has ever been successful when you allocate something for a certain number of people. It's segregation, either way. It's not sustainable for a long time. Make it attractive for them and make it easier. So women opportunity. And by educating the people at the policy level and investment level, they can see women businesses differently through different lenses. And on the other side, working with women themselves to be better at. So, no. It is not the investor's job to educate a woman. Let's be clear again. Let's not call a dog a bad name to hang it. Women networks, exposure. Let me tell you a data point. We found that when women have male co-founders, they raise more money faster. Data point. So maybe women should be partnering with male co-founders to raise money. My point is, there are various ways of stealing this cat, but we will not solve it in one day. We didn't get here in one day. All I'm doing is a conversation. We're going to have it. And I'm saying, I'm happy to talk to you about your fund and how we can support you if you want to invest. Last question.
You didn't speak to my point on women as capital allocators.
I'm coming there. I want to use the example. Last question. Yeah.
It's a comment. I really like what Dr. Akintoye said about we being. So there's Hausa, and there's a proverb that says "Sarkin yawa ya fi sarkin karfi." So when a lot, like no matter how strong you are, a lot of people can push you down. So we should be very passionate and individual about building Africa. Like, so what is it? And he said it in his presentation, and I really liked it because I go on and on about it. I get that policies like when you make policies, it drives the country, blah, blah, blah. It's very beautiful that way. There's a structure. But what can you do? Like, what is it you can do, no matter how little? Is it you're investing £100 somewhere, or you're investing in a human being, or you're investing in growth? It just starts from you. It's as little as not throwing trash on the floor. If you want to see change, it starts by you changing and investing and growing. Thank you.
I think we're out of time, right?
Yes, so I think that's it. And
So
then
let me wrap up quickly.
Sure.
Let me wrap.
Oh, sorry,
what's the
Jonathan,
question?
did you have a question?
Okay.
Okay.
So, on the Wakanda question. So, this vision that we have at Platform Capital. So, ask yourself, how do we start building Wakanda and learning gradually? Wakanda speaks of technology, of food, everything. So, start investing in technology of the future when people said it was impossible. This company here is one of our portfolio company called Koniku. It means immortal in my language, Yoruba. We build smell cyborgs. The smell camera can detect almost everything a mile away, from bombs to illness, everything. Can do a lot of things. This company, our portfolio companies, is doing excellently well in Silicon Valley. Cocoa Networks. Ethanol to homes. Rather than using fossil fuel to burn ethanol is biodegradable. In 2 years, they're going to have 700,000 homes. And they're growing fast. So it's saving the world, increasing longevity because the smoke from kerosene and coal and charcoal is gone, burning yield better, and also making money. Market is a VC fund that we have invested in that fund. We spoke about it. Bookings Africa is Fadi Ogoro is a lady who built a business to help the gig workers access work in a dignified way by being able to, whether you're an artist, or you're a movie, or you're an actor, or you're a hairdresser, or you're a tailor, or you're a plumber, whatever it is you are, on Bookings Africa, you can get, or a barber, you can get work, anybody around the world. It's like, imagine like Uber for creatives and for informal. So if I go into South Africa today and I want to do my gele, I do not have to look for who knows anybody. I just go online and say who does gele tying, and you see what she's working before, all those things. She's Nigeria, exactly. Or whether it's makeup, whether you do your hair. I know you may not travel a lot. Anything, or plumber, everything. Woman. Leo flight. Africa's challenge about infrastructure is real. We can't build, if you are going to build a lot of roads, we can afford it. But we have a lot of skies. So flying car, we've done the first flying car in America. And they've done that 2 flights, manned flights. And we checked out news very recently. You'll see that flying cars is about to become mainstream. They're doing regulation, everything. So very soon, we're going to bring flying cars to the continent. Sanitation here, where we take human waste, and we convert it to pellets and energy. So human waste that's just wasted, we take it into pellets, we dry it, take it to pellets, now use it burn. It's growing as well. RXO, everybody here has, when you buy drugs on the continent, how do you know it's original or fake? You can test it, you can buy it digital. Female co-founder, solo funds, peer-to-peer lending, C2C, each one lending to everyone. How many of you need $100 on a quick 2-hour notice without having to lose your dignity or call your brother, your mother, everything, and pay within 2 weeks? One of the fastest growing fintech companies in the US, Africa. Our future is that Wakanda being a concept into reality already exists by Africans and diaspora. Everybody I've mentioned here is African. Imagine we build all of them at home to a place where we can roll all this out. And then we can have our own Singapore. Thank you everybody for listening.